Have you ever heard the story of Princess Leonora, the girl who could become invisible? No? Well, pull up a chair, because this isn't your typical fairy tale. Our story begins in the shimmering kingdom of Ethelgard, a place famous for its crystal rivers and singing birds. But its greatest treasure was Princess Leonora. She wasn't just beautiful. She was kind, witty, and had a laugh that could make flowers bloom. Everyone adored her, from the royal court to the humble stable boy. But Leonora held a secret, a magical gift passed down through her royal line. She could turn invisible at will. As a child, this power was her greatest toy. She'd sneak an extra cookie from the kitchen, listen in on the gossiping maids, or play hide-and-seek with the palace guards, who could never, ever find. It was harmless fun, a secret game she played with the world. Her father, the king, would often chuckle and say, "My dear Leonora, your greatest strength is a secret weapon. Use it wisely." But as she grew older, the weight of her gift began to change. The palace, once her playground, started to feel like a gilded cage. Every suitor who came to court saw only the princess, the title, the crown she would one day wear. They'd praise her beauty, her grace, her royal lineage. But did anyone see her? De Realer, the girl who loved to read adventure stories until dawn and who secretly learned how to shoe a horse from the blacksmith. Loneliness began to creep in. So, she started using her power differently. She would become invisible and slip out of the castle walls, melting into the bustling crowds of the capital city. There, she wasn't Princess Leonora. She was just a whisper in the wind, a shadow in the alley. She was truly free. In the city, she saw life unfiltered. She saw a baker giving a warm loaf to a hungry child, a musician playing a lute with such passion it brought tears to people's eyes, and a group of friends laughing by the fountain, sharing simple stories. For the first time, she saw genuine connection, untainted by status or expectation. She observed, she learned, and she listened. She heard the people's worries about the harvest, their hopes for their children, and their simple, everyday joys. One day, while invisible in the marketplace, she overheard two royal ministers plotting. They were planning to impose a heavy new tax on the farmers, a tax so burdensome it would ruin them, all to fund a lavish new statue of the king. They spoke of the people not as subjects to be cared for, but as a resource to be squeezed. A cold anger, sharp and clear, pierced through Leonora's heart. Her father, she knew, was a good man, but he was shielded from the truth by these sycophantic advisors. That night, she couldn't sleep. Her secret weapon, as her father called it, was no longer a game. It was a responsibility. She had seen the truth. What would she do with it? Confronting the ministers directly was impossible. Who would believe an unseen voice? Revealing her power would cause chaos and panic. So, she devised a clever plan. She began to use her invisibility not to hide, but to act. The next morning, the lead minister found his meticulously written tax decree replaced with a childish drawing of a sad-faced farmer. The other minister discovered his coffers, filled with ill-gotten gold, had been mysteriously emptied, and the coins distributed in the poor quarter of the city overnight. Whispers started to spread throughout the palace. They called it the palace ghost. Important documents would go missing right before a bad decision was made. A whispered warning would echo in the ear of a guard about to mistreat a servant. A bag of seeds would appear on the doorstep of a struggling farmer. Leonora became a silent guardian, a phantom of justice. She wasn't just observing anymore. She was changing things, one invisible act at a time. Her greatest challenge came when a neighboring kingdom, led by the greedy King Malachor, threatened to invade. Malakor's spies had reported that Ethelgard was ripe for the picking, its defenses weak and its leadership out of touch. Leonora, invisible in the war council, heard her father's generals panicking. They were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. That night, she slipped into the enemy encampment. It was terrifying. The air was thick with the smell of wood smoke and steel. But her fear was overshadowed by her determination. Moving like a ghost from tent to tent, she created chaos. She swapped battle plans with recipes for cabbage soup. She tied the bootlaces of entire platoons together. She whispered terrifying ghost stories into the ears of sentries, who fled their posts in fear. By morning, King Malakor's army was in complete disarray. They were convinced the land was haunted by powerful spirits. They retreated without a single arrow being fired, thinking Ethelgard was protected by some fearsome, unknowable magic. And in a way, they were right. Biking Ethelgard. Everyone celebrated the miraculous retreat. The king praised his lucky stars, but Leonora knew it wasn't luck. It was the power of a girl who had learned to see the world for what it was, and to act without needing to be seen. Her adventures, as the palace ghost, continued, but something had shifted within her. She realized that while her invisibility was a powerful tool, true strength came from connection. She started spending more time as Leonora, the visible princess. But now, she wasn't just smiling and waving. Armed with the knowledge she'd gathered in secret, she spoke with a newfound authority. She advised her father on fair governance, pointing out the struggles of the common folk she now knew so well. She exposed corrupt ministers, not with magic, but with evidence and sharp-witted arguments she'd overheard. She started initiatives to help the poor and support local artisans. People were amazed. The princess, once a lovely but distant figure, was now a true leader. She was wise, compassionate, and deeply connected to her people. They didn't know about her secret power, but they saw its effects. They saw a princess who truly saw them. Heirs, Pays. Leonora became a beloved queen, ruling with a wisdom and kindness that became legendary. She still used her invisibility from time to time, not to play tricks, but to walk among her people, to listen to their unfiltered truths, and to never forget the world outside the palace walls. The story of Princess Leonora teaches us something beautiful. It tells us that the greatest power isn't about being seen and admired. Sometimes it's about seeing others, understanding them, and acting for their good without any need for applause or recognition. True impact often comes from the quiet, unseen actions we take every single day. The Invisible Princess was at her most powerful, not when she was hiding, but when she used what she learned in the shadows to bring light to the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tailies that make you think. See you next time.